What's up, everybody? We are back with another epic collection review, this time Venom Lethal Protector. This is volume 2, and we're making these Venom volumes, the first couple really cover the same material as Spider-Man. Some of those Spider-Mans have not been covered in epic versions yet, but there was an omnibus Venom versus Spider-Man, and that omnibus covers these entire 2 volumes. So what's in here is Amazing Spider-Man 361 through 363, 374. There is 375 in it, which they call Material From, but it really is the main story of it. There were backup stories in that also, though. Spider-Man Trial of Venom, Web of Spider-Man 95 and 96 with a Ghost Rider deal, which is a crossover. Lethal Protector 1 through 6, and some Marvel Comics Presents stuff, too. All right. I've read this Spider-Man stuff at the beginning so many times. I had all these as a kid. This is kind of the first appearance of Carnage. And Carnage shows up. And it's got David Michelinie and Mark Bagley on pencils here. So this is classic Spider-Man. Super fun. Peter's coming out to save the day. See Mary Jane's getting worried, because that's what she does. And Carnage is just really bad. He's even badder than Venom. Carnage rules. Yes, he was super 90s. And Venom has been, like, dropped off at, like, some island. And Peter Parker's like, I'm going to go pick him up. And he thought Spider-Man was dead, and so he's happy to live on that island. But Spider-Man's like, I need your help to fight this guy. And Venom's like, okay, I guess we'll fight this guy with you. And then they show up. Super. Mark Bagley's art is just, like, very iconic for Spider-Man and Venom. Good stuff. Lots of jumping. Running and jumping all the way around. And then in the third issue, of course, you get J. Jonah Jameson. He tries to kill him. They end up at, like, this Aerosmithy concert. And the sound really kills Cletus Cassidy. And in theory, Venom. And then they leave. And then Venom's on trial here. And Matt Murdock actually goes down. Peter Parker's there because he's taking pictures of it. And they put Venom on trial. And Murdock actually tries to get him off that he's saying, you know, he's not actually Venom. He's Eddie Brock without Venom. And Eddie Brock didn't kill anybody. And Spider-Man's kind of upset by that. They end up with a knockdown, drag-out fight. And eventually, like, Venom escapes. And they kind of do the hero thing where they're like, oh, I guess we did the right thing, even though it was kind of the wrong thing. And very bizarre issue. I remember when that came out. And that was very, like, it was kind of hard to find for a bit. Because special edition, #1, collector's edition. And then, of course... you know, there wasn't real value to it. All right, so Web of Spider-Man was written by Howard Mackey with pencils by Savlik. I don't know who that is. There's a Hobgoblin here, and there's like a Preacher and Demo Goblin together. All this, like, kind of matters a little bit for Maximum Carnage later. And they end up in this, like, underground area, and Venom's fighting against these bad dudes underground, too. And again, Spider-Man and Venom are kind of forced to team up on some level. The Howard Mackey wrote Ghost Rider also. Ghost Rider's art is, like, this is where it starts getting the wonky 90s for me. And I didn't like this very much. Trying with the black gutters to look cool and edgy. This was a little tougher of a read than the other stuff so far. And it's a four-parter, so it's like, man, this really takes forever. And they have too many characters in here, so you're just like, gosh, like, who's fighting who at this point? And, like, is it going to be the same thing next issue? This is drawn out. But eventually they come to a conclusion. They all need to fight the bad guys together. And they do so. Yay. All right. Marvel Comics Presents. We get a Dreamland with Wolverine and Venom. This is very weird. And this is, who's that guy? That Sam and Keith art? I think, who's that artist? Sam Keith, yeah. He does weird art, and they end up in this dreamland, which is controlled by the Nightmare Realm guy. And I love, you know, even though it's weird, it's really cool and stylistic. Really neat stuff. I'd never read this story before, actually, so I was pretty happy to actually read this. And even though it's a dreamland, and they're just fighting and getting past their nightmares so they can escape the dreamland, it was still pretty cool. So I enjoyed that. Pretty cool. All right, the end of 373 has Venom in a cell getting tortured, and he breaks out. So, pretty standard. Then he comes, and he realizes Peter Parker's parents are returned, so he actually kind of goes after them, kidnaps them. Spider-Man goes after him. Lots of fight. This is a lot of like personal drama through here. Back to a real Amazing Spider-Man with Mark Bagley. I love the art. These were my favorite, like favorite as a kid, like this storyline. I read this over and over and over again. See Silver Sable. Silver Sable was so popular in the early 90s. Tom DeFalco created her, and she had a little like mercenary pack, and they've really abandoned the character. So very odd. Strong female lead. There you go. Too pretty, I guess, for these days. But good stuff. And eventually, Silver Sable's Wild Pack's got these like guns to like get Venom sonically hit and all that. And they do that, and you get into 375, and like Venom's ex-wife shows up, and she actually says Spider-Man's a good guy, and they fight together, and Spider-Man and Venom save her life together. And this is where Venom realizes Spider-Man's not all that bad. He goes, let's make a deal. He's like, you stay out of my way, I'll stay out of your way. All right, and that's that. Really fun. Lethal Protector is a 6-issue miniseries. Venom is making a transition now into anti-hero rather than Spider-Man bad guy, and they do series of miniseries with him so they can get an all-new #1 like every 6 months. Now the original version of this had this like super shiny, cool foil cover to it. And Venom is got Mark Bagley still. Venom is in San Francisco, and of course Spider-Man goes out to San Francisco. He finds this like underground group that like lives in this like weird underground area, and he tries to stay with them for a bit. It turns out there's this like billionaire philanthropist guy who's like causing trouble and like trying to like steal their stuff and mow over them. You get this group called the Jury who comes after him, trying to kill him. It looks like it's a setup for an actual ongoing series because there's so many bad guys that show up, and it changes so much from issue to issue. Like Venom then eventually goes off and goes to this area. They steal a symbiote, and they actually like make a new symbiote to fight against him. So it gets really cool. And of course the artist changes here. I don't know who this is. I'll find out. Spider-Man and Venom team up once again. You see lots of team-ups at the beginning of this deal. It is Ron Lim. I like Ron Lim. He's kind of an underrated artist, but he's got that Marvel House style too. You see they're starting to experiment with panel layouts a lot, like in No Gutter, yay! Which I don't know. I miss gutters, personally. I like the traditional comic look. I think it's clean. But they end up in this underground facility, like with this bad guy, and like, you know, eventually they have to escape it. He's got his symbiote guys, and they kind of take them out, maybe. And then they have to go back to San Francisco and take the bad guy down himself. Yeah. Venom's huge now. Look at the muscles on the muscles. It's very 90s. But, well, you know what? It's fun. And if he's got these guys, and they're going to just kill all those people in that underground city from the beginning, and Venom saves them. Spider-Man saves them, and they save the day. The end. All right, beautiful stuff. It's very 90s. I got to tell you, this is like uber 90s with Venom and Carnage and all that stuff. Other than the Web of Spider-Man Ghost Rider story, I pretty much enjoyed it a lot. I powered through this real quick. I could read this very fast. And, you know, I've got an attachment to a lot of these issues as a kid. I don't know that I can't separate that. But I loved it. So 8.5 out of 10. Lots of fun for me. A must pick up. Love Venom Lethal Protector. Good stuff. All right. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.